Welcome to Road Opener Podcast. Tanya Brakeman is the creator of Essential and Dynamic Relating, a curriculum that teaches a powerful relating discipline born from her decade-long journey of transformational work, including inside the BDSM community of Seattle. She trains people to use this relating discipline to reclaim their innate truth so they can communicate that truth with respectful responsibility. So, welcome to Road Opener Podcast, Tanya.
Here we are.
Begin with this question that was sort of lingering from our past conversation around ecstasy.
Mhm.
You asked, what good is your ecstasy? I would love for you to unpack that. I would love for you to define ecstasy. Ecstasy, maybe like when you're in your body, when you're in intimacy, it's this private or maybe group thing. It's like all very self-involved versus maybe perhaps a different type of ecstasy. So, like, what
Mhm.
does ecstasy mean to you, Tanya?
In my use of that word, what I'm asking people to consider is that ecstasy is not a solo venture, right? That ecstasis to be outside of oneself, to be more than oneself, to be a part of this entire ecstatic, dynamic universe. My sense of how ecstasy as a term or as an entitlement was being used so often and often still is like it's something I deserve, it's something I'm entitled to. And I'm not sure that's right. I'm actually quite certain it's not right. That to be an ecstatic being in my mind is more like being a part of the animate world, an ecstatic being, able to move and give and be and let go when it's time, not a static only being, stationary, expecting things to come to me, right? Especially, sex, medicine journeys, ecstatic experiences, people call them. I don't know that any of those are our birthright or that we deserve any of it, but I think that it is how we're made is to experience ecstatic experiences and to better know ourselves in life through them. Yeah.
So, this piece around entitlement was one of the questions I had for you was like people talk about needs, getting needs met in relationship as though we are entitled to get our needs met. Is that a stance that you take?
Well,
Villain laugh on cue. You have that villain laugh down pat.
oh yes, oh yes, I'm going for the Cruella de Vil look too,
Hmm.
or bad Mary Poppins.
Perfect.
To maybe back up a bit, our conversation oriented initially around me doing relationship work in the world and what that was about, and how that the original name of my work, Revel, The Audacity of Ecstasy, was such a mouthful for people to try to get their heads around. And it took so much explaining that and it's followed by Revel, The Audacity of Ecstasy, a study in erotic discipline. So imagine the pedestrian person saying, what the hell are you talking about? But that sounds interesting. And I'm totally intimidated. The point of that name, and that's the name that's always been with me about it, was in, to revel, to be ecstatic, or to experience ecstasy. I don't know that either of them is something that we deserve or are entitled to, that we ought to have or ought not to have. I think it just is. Ecstasy just is. Ecstatic being just is.
Hmm.
And reveling in that may be the capacity to not take it for granted, the capacity to dance with all the vicissitudes of a very confusing, brief, brutal, beautiful life and stay open, stay receptive, rather than demanding, deserving, entitling ourselves to any of it.
Hmm.
Something like staying on the precipice of gratitude, staying on the precipice of awe, wonder, curiosity, and play, rather than judgment, entitlement, deserving, and superiority as a way of dealing with our disappointment,
Yeah.
and expecting life to come to our door rather than us beseeching, grasping and gasping after the opportunity to touch the hem of this beautiful life, and then surrendering to the privilege of any of it being granted to us, rather than living this commodified, commercialized mind life where everything is just supposed to come to my doorstep and I'm supposed to sit here and just receive it, rather than go after it and sometimes practically kill myself going after it
Yeah.
in search of the holy.
Yeah, we do that, don't we?
It seems
And
to be
but
the case.
that makes me think about how maybe there's a fundamental flaw in our thinking, because what you're describing is definitely I've fallen into that. So if I am wanting to go and get ecstatic experience or go out and like somehow acquire the thing I want,
Mhm.
I am forgetting perhaps that I am that actually, and that this is something germane to me. And like you said, ecstasy and God, we'll just say, just is. So
Mhm.
rather than creating separation between me and God or me and ecstasy, it's like, no, this is actually a way of life. This is a way of bringing that which you seek to life instead. Is that accurate?
It, yes. And my students know me to possess a wealth, a pocket full of quips, quippy things that I say. And one of them is this for this moment. As an ecstatic being, it is you who forget. It isn't the rocks or the trees or the wind or the animals, or it's you who forget. You forget you have the capacity that who you are is ecstatic being.
Mm.
And to remember that may be the process of growing up, like being faced with the disappointments, the disillusionments, the betrayals, and being willing to tap into that, what I call erotic intelligence, that is that animate force, eros, that brings us back into alignment with and reverence for life. And so, more to the question, more to the inquiry. I don't know how many questions I'll actually answer today, but
Doesn't matter.
but I invite them also then to consider that they will not experience themselves. And here's how I say it directly to them. You will not experience yourself authentically until you express yourself authentically, and not a moment before that. There is no, I'm going to sit back and wait to feel authentic, to be authentic, or to feel pleasure, or to feel, I'm going to sit back and wait and see, I'm going to wait and see, how this all turns out. No, there's an action that demands to be taken, and the experience follows it.
Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, like the difference between passivity and like I'm owed and things should come to me and like it's very childlike or juvenile actually to, and you can think about how that would show up in relationships with
Mhm.
people, let's say, not getting their needs met, for example, in their framing. So to be very practical about it, there would be more of a focus on what do I bring to this? How
Yes.
do I create the field where it can be happening, or where actually I can be aware of it happening because it's already happening,
Yeah.
right? So, do you find in your work that reframe and perhaps that maturation that needs to happen is difficult for people, or how do you facilitate that?
The joke tagline way back in the 2016-17 range was somebody who was helping me at the time with a website and, talking about podcasts and all that. And I said, can't I just call it Revel, the Audacity of Ecstasy, how to grow the hell up? And he
Right.
said, no, I don't think you can call it that. Probably not a good idea. Um, and so, yeah, it is challenging. I'm operating from the premise, the understanding that the Western mind or Westernized mind, wherever it is on the globe, is an immature mind, designed by and actually, in a way, I'm not much for conspiracy theories, but in a way, a sort of, what do I want to say? A control mechanism. I'm going to say that just rudely. Keeping the Western mind immature keeps it in suffering and keeps it consuming and keeps it so self-absorbed that it can't make itself useful in the world in the ways that it was designed to be useful. This core truth of my being and who am I in the world and what's my gift and how do I want to leave this world after I'm gone, that question doesn't get to be asked much, let alone acted upon when we're busy being good consumers, in this commodified culture. And so I think the what do you call it? I have a 56-year-old brain sometimes. It's a setup in a
Yeah.
way, kind of like the addictive cycle of, the opposite of less is more is more, and louder is better, and bigger is better. And as much as our culture is turning now and more pointing towards simplicity and simple pleasures and simple life, I think there's sort of a mechanism in here, an addictive component to the way that we've been marketed to, of course, and the idea that there is an individual self that has needs and wants. I think that is the most marketable, addicting idea that we've been given. And we are our own worst enemies then inside that cycle. And my aim in my work is to help people break that chain and to arrest their own want need cycle and turn it into something more like, I will get my needs and wants met as I contribute in community, which isn't the martyr syndrome. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as I discover my true gifts and as I offer them authentically from my truest, deepest devotion to this marvelous existence, my needs will be met. They will be. And I have certainly lived through many occasions that demonstrate that.
Beautiful. So it sounds like the price of authenticity is actually a deep trust in life. So, what is the way that you would help someone who is maybe not that trusting of life or has trust wounds? Because what the math that you just laid out makes total sense to me. Yet I
Mhm.
still find myself working on that or maybe having trust wounds around that. And I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. Okay, yeah, if I show up fully as myself, if I really allow that to come through me as a gift and make my life a gift, then there will be a reciprocity in life that maybe I can't define the terms of, though. So, like, what's that dynamic like for you, and how would you teach somebody to trust in it?
Essential relating, which turns into then dynamic relating, is quite a framework. I've just completed a year-long cohort, or am completing it, and I'm starting another one in September. As far as I can tell, it takes a year for people to grapple with the these different arenas of life that I hear you alluding to. I call them the spheres of influence, and where I am as an individual in those concentric circles of spheres of influence is something like, at the center is source, life itself, erotic intelligence, eros, arousal, chaos, creativity, right? This big, dark, beautiful life source. And then the next concentric circle is who I am as an individual, given by that source. That's the second sphere of influence. And then the second sphere of influence is the realm of relationship, and who I am at the level of source and individual, my relationship with life and my give, take, mistrust, or trust in life has a lot to do with then how my relationships go, right? And then we know how our relationships go impacts who we are in the world. And I call that outer ring the realm of industry, where we exchange resource with one another. And can we do that sustainably, or are we just another cog in the wheel being used up by life and bringing that back to our relationships and feeling like crap and then hating life?
Mm,
What's the directionality of might I, in this curriculum, so reclaim my own uniquely innate relationship with life and who I am as an individual being, forgive life, forgive myself, and then be able to bring myself into relationships of all kinds, family of origin, friends, acquaintances, intimates, work relationships, as a as an authentic expression of the individual that I am, such that the whole truest, best, most authentic, most available version of me is there in any given moment, because I'm not shutting down as soon as something happens that I don't like or that I don't want. Coming from a deeply conservative Christian background, one of the striking verses that always just grabbed me was that there's only one unforgivable sin. It's like, oh God, what is it? It's the sin against the Holy Spirit. And then I came to know through Eastern, you know, studies and my own life, like what that meant to me and why it gripped me at the time was it was saying that impulse of life that is in me is something I can trust and should trust and ought
Mm.
to trust more than the dogma or the religion or the yogic tradition or the authority that came down from on high toward me. Like it's actually my task and my privilege to true myself up to what I know to be true, who I know myself to truly be in any circumstance, in any situation. And that's not easy. That
Yeah,
takes that takes a lot of additional support and structure and community for us to true up to ourselves. It's not something we can do on our own.
it seems like the task of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of one of my favorite Miles Davis quotes. He said, sometimes it takes a while to sound like yourself, which is weird, right?
Uh,
There's so many
uh,
layers to shrive off. But as you're speaking, one thing I thought of is, okay, we're kind of almost pretending or LARPing the idea that we even have a choice. The choice is, oh yeah, maybe I'll hold back from life until I get what I want, and then it'll be proven to me that I'm safe, and then I'll give. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
you can do that
Yeah.
and like pretend that your trust wounds with life are holding you back, and that's the real problem. But it's like, do you even have a choice,
Yeah.
really? If you want to play the game, if you want to play this game the way that, you could play it?
Well, I'll trust you if you trust me, and that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you my trust when you give me yours.
Hmm.
Um, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just not how it works, right? I imagine it, much of my work is drawn in these diagrams, and turns out each of these diagrams is rather like phallic and yonic in
Hmm.
its, I wasn't intending that, but it's like, oh, it just turns out kind of in a sacred geometry way that that's what the images start looking like. But there's in the larger circle experience of life, these spheres of influence that I was talking about, how I draw it is you're going along in life, and it's just kind of cooking along, and then you come up to a moment and everything stops. Right? The brakes go on, you don't know what to do, and there's a chasm, and there's some sense that I've got to find my way to the other side. It's a moment of growth, it's a growth edge, you call it lots of things, and sometimes it's a crisis, right? Sometimes it's just a difficult conversation in your relationship, and you aren't sure how to approach it, and you feel stopped and you don't know what to do next. You don't already have the skill to approach this particular issue. And to trust
Hmm.
and confession, I listened to a couple of your other podcasts and I was hearing a theme.
Hmm.
And so I'm on to you a little bit
Uh-oh.
about the safe spaces and the trust and all of that. And I appreciated it a lot. To me, what I invite my students to consider is you'll trust yourself and you'll trust that moment when you participate with it.
Hmm.
You actually have to say, here's who I am in this case, and here's what I believe to be true. And I'm willing to be proven wrong as I take the step across that gap. and be uninsultable as life comes at me, as others' rejections and upsets and reactions come at me. I'm willing to train myself in the discipline of being uninsultable about what I love and who I am, such that others have the freedom to discover that about themselves also. Therein lies the trust. It's
Mm.
not guaranteed. It's not deserved. It's not something we're entitled to. It is a condition of taking actions before you know how it's going to turn out. Some might call it surrender. And I actually use that a model in my work that is all about taking those steps and finally coming to a place of surrendering to the moment.
Hmm.
And it can be a place of real freedom and power.
I think it is very freeing to be able to be uninsultable
Yeah.
and basically invincible. You connect to an invincible core inside yourself, like, and
Yeah.
also a trust, like a trust in yourself. Whatever will happen as a result of this, I will be good. I can handle it. I can handle the consequences of me taking action from an authentic place.
Yes.
Yeah.
That. And I'm such a word nerd. I'm not sure what the etymological root of invincible is, and yet I understand that we can get this sense, particularly in this Western individualistic mind of, self-congratulatory invincibility, like not that kind, right?
Yeah.
Of like, I'm so cool and I'm so great and I can handle anything and I'm kind of impenetrable, invincible, impossible to put down. But like living on the edge of, no, I could be crushed. I could be, I could die. I could lose a relationship. I could lose my job if I take the action that feels true for me. It's not safe to
Mm.
be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, be here to hear first, folks. You're all fucked.
I, oh, I love to say this as well. I'm like, look, if your self-worth, if your self-worth is about you, if you think it's about you probably have really boring problems.
Say more. I want to know more about that. Reel me along on that.
That turns out to me, as a mother of 5 adult children, I never felt better when things were about me. I never felt more whole when things were about me. It was a place of suffering because I
Mhm.
was never enough. I was never adequate. I never had the answers. And there was a greater sense of wholeness in admitting that I didn't. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have 4 little kids and I'm 26 years old. What
Mm.
26-year-old knows how to be a mother of 4 kids, 2 years apart? And so there is a surrendering to the ignorance and a willingness to not know that could seem really antithetical to the self-worth model of you're enough and you can do it. And actually, no, I wasn't enough. I couldn't do it.
Mm.
And it required me to say, I can't do this. I need help. And I scrambled, right? And it is a good thing I got the help that I got. And it wasn't what as much as I needed.
Mm.
But in being willing to have my sense of self-worth shattered and completely reduced to a shambles, I found another way.
Mm.
And that has given me such a different relationship to what self-worth is about, and it wasn't that my self-worth was about my kids, although there were certainly times when I felt like it was supposed to be. I think what I learned from all of that related to that snarky comment, that if your self-worth is about you, you probably have boring problems. I heard you speaking to one of the other podcasts, or your guest was speaking to it, and it's something around this anthropocentric, self-centric notion of the Western construct of consumerism, commercialism. It is to me in and of itself the suffering. to
Mm.
be alone, to be an individual, to be like inherently isolated or drawing attention to my isolation and my deservedness of belonging is to substantiate and propagate the idea of separation and my own trauma loops. And the more I tell those stories, the more traumatized I am. But the more I tell the stories about how I make myself authentically available to others in relationship and become a contributing force and trust that process, then the natural resource and flow of ecstatic energy, dynamic flow, is mine to take advantage of by creating webs of relatedness and by creating authentic bonds with people. Then I mean, I haven't said that thing. I don't know if I've ever said that thing that I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, I have trust issues. Like,
Mm.
well, welcome to being human. Hello, life is inherently one big insult after another, if you hold it that way. But to learn to trust oneself, trust the moment, trust humanity, trust love, trust life is then what you said. I'll know what to do in the moment. I don't have to know ahead of time. I don't have to try to control it. I don't have to know I'm going to be able to trust it or that it's going to be a safe space to lean into it. That, to me, is ecstasy.
Mm. Well, that hits me hard. I mean, a lot of the people that I work with are on thresholds. So they have lived a life that seems conditional, controlled based on previous adaptations, and yet probably part of them sense this reality or this way of being or this way of like basically letting go a bit of all the control, all the clenched fistness.
Yeah.
And but it always comes down when we're working together to trust in something. Because it's like no matter how much you hedge, no matter how many plans you put in place, how great we get our strategy, the masculine side, or maybe like the more linear side of masculine, it's like meh, ultimately. You could waste a lot of time at that cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
only way you're really going to move forward, but also experience this level of aliveness that you're talking about is just by diving in. You just
Yeah.
got to dive in,
And that's where the uninsultability comes in handy.
right? Yeah.
And I consider it that really is a process of maturity of I actually have a tool that I call the it's a dialect, really. I didn't understand what dialects were until I was already using them, but it's a dialect where I can take an insult, something that I feel insulted about, and I can look down at the core of it and say, well, what's that insult really about? What aspect of me or my sense of value got injured? And it's always like a principle, like trust, confidence, respect, kindness, valor. It's some core principle. And that's way more interesting than just myself as a personality.
Right.
So when I can get connected to the principle at the heart of the thing that was injured, now I can get an action and extend that as an invitation outside of myself ecstatically to another being. And in that moment, that rather than me deserving or demanding that I be treated with respect and I be treated with dignity, as soon as I offer that, I am experiencing it because I am creating it.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter how the other person receives it. That's the invitation.
That feels like sovereignty to me, but not in a way that's like, oh, I'm on my ivory tower mountain. You can't touch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word I use for that in the curriculum is authority,
Authority. Cool.
personal authority. Yeah.
Personal authority. Yeah. That's also a theme that I find myself working with people a lot around because to me, the whole game is can you listen deeply enough to something that already wants to happen and then move with it
Yes.
rather than against it? Can you ride that tiger on my coffee cup It says, ride the tiger, chew glass, breathe smoke. And
Sounds like the psilocybin journey I was on once.
pretty much, but that's like life, right? Life ayahuasca,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's that's like the uninsultability of it. Is like,
Yeah.
okay, you're gonna step in, you're gonna flow with it, you're gonna go with it. And then also, as you're saying, which I love, just like, yeah, that doesn't mean that, oh, it's all nice and easy now. It's like, no, no, you're fully in it now. You're in the journey. You're riding the tiger.
Yeah.
Like, but congratulations on making it here, because now this is where it all gets to happen.
At
Rather
least
than
you're
just
not
like,
riding a caterpillar. Or
or a
maybe a
yak.
really big one. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think yes, that's it to me, Noah. I recognized early on, that I wasn't about to raise my children in the church because there was no way I would do that to,
Mm,
these creatures that I had given my life to. No way I was going to turn them over to just another dogma to tell them that they were good or bad or right or wrong or what direction they could take their lives or what kind of pants they could wear. Um, and I was in that tiger, like, do I grab hold of this thing that is in me that is just screaming, this is wrong. There's no
mm,
way. And let go of the presumed security and predictability of religion and a conservative household and my husband at the time and all the things that I was going to lose if I bucked the tide. And it was tiger.
mm.
There was only one way out of that for me. And I love helping people grab hold of the tiger.
Mm.
Love it.
Me too.
So much fun. And it's
Yeah.
terrifying, right?
Yeah.
But it's
But
so
again, do we
alive.
have a choice, really? Because the other way is just like continue on feeling dead
Yeah.
because the old adaptive patterns and survival strategies have really reached their sell by date and well beyond.
Yeah.
And it's like you can keep doing that or you can ride the tiger.
I so want to just flip this around for a second because one of the reasons I said yes to being on your show is because of the work that you're wanting to do in the world. And I am so, God, my heart just breaks daily for the challenge of men in
Mm,
our time to be up against the crucifix of, the horrors and the shames committed at the hands of men and the screaming of women who want to take back their power. And damn, am I for that, except for the fact that women are not separate from their responsibility in this phenomenon. And when I started this work and what I heard and what you were saying when we were talking initially, I wanted to find out how to help men regain an authentic voice of authority rather than that gross, domineering, dominating, superior version of authority. You can't even say the word authority without pissing someone off, right? Or talking about power. It conjures up such negative associations. You can watch the jump happen. But I don't think that the answer is to overcorrect and give all that power to women and, have women take back their power and start using it the same way that the abusive men used it, right? So I heard in what you were saying at the time, or maybe I sensed, a desire in you to help men regain their footing and their core sense of worth and value and capacity to be men in this world in a beautiful way. And that's why I said yes.
well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my core concerns. But fundamentally, like why I wanted to have you on is because our worldviews meet and synergize around this question, I think, of how does power and freedom and control, non-control slash submission, how does that all play together? Because when I'm working with a guy on the edge of a new phase in his life or a new way of being in his life, it's never about let's change careers or like we need to move places. That's just the superficial level. It's more about relationship to life and self and by extension. power and authority. And that's where all the juice is, because this is not like power to dominate non-consensually.
Mhm.
It's not power even to force something to happen. It's like the power is sourced in listening to what wants to happen through you, and then you get on the tiger, you get on the current, and you just ride that.
Mhm.
And that's to me seems to be like the real lava flow.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
life is a volcano, and then you somehow build a raft strong enough to not get melted on the lava, and then you ride it where it wants to go. To just use some crazy metaphors. So,
I like it. I'm with you. I was seeing like a surfboard.
right, totally. And like, I don't know, is there a material that can't get melted by lava?
We should find out.
The
Yeah.
soul. We'll say that, right?
Yeah.
So it's part of this question that I wanted to move toward next, which is just around power. Why do we want it? Why do
Mm.
we crave it? Do we crave, what do we crave when we crave power? What do you
Mhm.
see around that
Yeah.
dynamic? Would love to know.
I think the sort of nascent, beautiful answer to that, to begin with, is that we all want to know that we matter. We all want to know that somehow our voice matters and our being matters and our presence matters. Um, Even the most nihilistic of souls, that is their argument, indicates that they want to matter, Nothing matters. It's all empty and void.
That.
And so that, first of all, as even a child learning to exercise their voice and get the attention of their caregivers or whoever, they learn whether they have power or not, whether they have the capacity to influence an environment or another human being. And we start learning these power dynamics when we're very young. We start forming our attitudes about whether we're the bully or the coward, or whether we're the pleaser or the boss, where do we fit in this power scheme and who are we about it? And so, how I think about power now is more, do I trust myself with my natural influence on the
Hmm,
world or in the world?
hmm.
Do I trust myself with my own authority? And am I willing to use it in a moment where it's called for? And am I willing to shut my mouth in a moment when it's not, right? Rather than exerting my influence or displaying or demonstrating it. No, to me, it's only actually power when it's not forced, right?
Yeah.
And to know within myself, oh, this is the right moment to speak up, even though I'm terrified to say what needs to be said.
Hmm,
Ugh. Or this is the moment where I would really love to speak up and put my voice in the room, but why am I doing that? Is that for me? Is that for the moment? Is it actually going to serve the moment? Or is that just about me wanting to be heard and get my voice in the room? And which is it? In any moment, and sometimes you can just be on a razor's edge of ego, non-ego, ego, non-ego. And then just like, well, I might fuck this up, but I'm going to say this. And if it needs to be taken back, I'll take it back. I'll be uninsultable about that because, of course, we're all going to make mistakes when we go start being willing to be seen and being willing to be authentic. We're going to make oversteps and understeps. And the ability to just say, oh, I think I just did that thing. Look at what I just did. Hey, let me take that back. That's not yours. That's mine. I want to own that. I want to take that out of your space if you'll let me. Will you let me? Can we
hmm,
do that now?
hmm.
And that kind of power makes sure that others have power also. Freedom makes sure that it's an environment of freedom, not a birthright of freedom that's mine, which is actually just taking liberties.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Often the two words power and control get linked, and I hear you
yeah,
just taking a sword and putting them right between them,
absolutely.
right? Like
Absolutely.
power control, it's like this, they just go hand in hand. But you're like, no, no, they true power is actually a completely different thing. It actually creates more freedom.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with forcing. It has to do with responsibility more than control.
I love to say that only powerless people have to use force, right?
So that goes to this other question I wanted to bring up with you around how to wield power, especially as a man,
Mm.
incorruptibly with integrity. So, in your view of the world, what would be the best possible way, specifically for a man, let's just say, to wield this type of power that you're talking about incorruptibly? What would he have to pay attention to? Because what you just spoke to felt very nuanced, and that there would be a level of presence that's very high, like a 5-star standard, to be able to pay attention to each moment to the degree that power could be exercised properly. So, what do you see around that?
So great. Just leading me right into the call to action.
Perfect.
Coming around the backside a little bit. That was my question from the beginning. That's how this work got created, is that I was in a relationship in a big personal development organization, and I was watching myself in my relationship at the time with a person who was in that work. I was watching him shrink around me. And I was watching other men shrink around the women in this particular organization as the women wielded their weapons of communication and distinction. And I was watching and thinking, oh my God, is that what I look like in my relationship? And sure enough, yes. And I thought, oh, this whole thing is turned around. And now men have no power. They can't speak up about anything, or they're just using white male privilege. And oh God, this has gone the wrong direction. And so, through actually some of the work in the BDSM community and reckoning with the fact that dominant and submissive energies, or I would say in a pedestrian way, the capacity to provide and the willingness to receive, dominant, submissive, could be called masculine, feminine. I don't know if that's right or not, but we all have that capacity in us, right, to provide and to receive. And when any of us, but particularly men, given that's your question, learn how to provide, this is a specific structure in my work, by saying, hey, there's something I'd like to offer you. I wonder if you'd be willing to receive it. May I? There's how to check.
Mm.
If, to be courteous in our approach to our willingness to provide something for someone, rather than, I've got the answer, here's what you should do, let's go do this now. If you don't listen to me, you're stupid. Oops.
Yeah.
Like maybe that happens sometimes. But the other part of it is the ability to receive. And this is another specific, what I call a consent model in essential relating and dynamic relatings work is, oh, so this is now tying together that want need question. I want to offer something to you. I wonder if you'd be interested in receiving it. The second part is I need to receive something. I'm in need. I have a need. I need some support. I need something. Am I going to authentically own that need and communicate it without manipulation or coercion, so any kind of force? Can I say, boy, I really need a hug right now. Can I interest you in providing that for me? And being willing to hear yes or no as a perfectly acceptable response without getting insulted. There's the freedom, right? There's
Mm.
the power and the freedom.
Mm.
Now, those are what I call the two questions, may I and will you?
Mm.
And that has the masculine and feminine energies in it, provide, receive. Anyone and everyone, I think, ought to learn how to use those questions with courtesy to truly own their capacity to influence a moment and be true to the moment and to be true to another's wants and needs at the same time. It's not a quid pro quo transactional kind of an engagement that we're looking for these days. We want more meaningful, authentic, connected, contributive, sustainable relationships and exchanges. I think that's power. And I
Yeah.
think that men have a unique, and as scary as it might be, to pick that gift back up in this tone and in this age and in this time. I think it is imperative for men to pick back up and to reclaim within themselves their own masculine personal authority, which is the opposite of what it might sound like to some people. What it actually is not male superiority, it's the reverence for the privilege of being a man in today's world and having the capacity to influence environments with the unique gifts and skills that masculine energy can provide. It doesn't matter how much masculine energy I attempt to exude or naturally have, being that dominant, forward, expressive energy. I'm not a guy. I'm not a man. Never will be. I don't have the wiring of the protector, defender. I have some of those attributes sometimes and I use them vehemently, but I'm still the woman. I still walk down the street and have to think about where I'm walking, at what time, around whom. I'm still a woman.
Mhm.
Okay. And for men to reclaim the incredible privilege, gift, obligation, and duty of being men in this world today, I think is critical for our
Mm.
young people, critical for our culture. And I want to do everything in my right capacity to support that.
Well, you're certainly doing that. And I guess to put a bow on it, what I really hear you saying is power in a man is able to come forth in an integral way when offered within a framework like you explained, which is so nice and simple yet effective, which is, may I? Would you be open to be influenced by this amazing thing that I have here for you? Like, there
That's
is an overflow here.
yummy.
There's an overflow here to, like, the difference between like "Wah," and then no, I'm like wide as the horizon and the sun rising. Would you like to bask in some of that?
Oh, come on. Ah, how many women get that offer? How many children get that offer?
Hmm. Wow. Well, I love that. I think that's a great place to wrap it up,
Yeah.
Tanya. We yeah, we went there. Thank you. I really appreciate you.
A delight. And I'm appreciating you too. I hope we'll get to do this again.
We will, definitely. Where would you like to send people who might be interested in your work?
You can take a look at my website, which is essentialrelating.com.
Perfect. Go check it out, and you have a cohort coming up in the fall.
Yeah, starting in the middle of September, I would send people to the website for that as well.
Okay.
It's a year-long study in these tools, getting to know yourself as a set of core intentions and counter intentions, whereby you can account for and reconcile with yourself your best and worst self in any moment so you can bring your full trusted self to the moments of your life.
Perfect. All
Yeah.
right. Well, those links will be in the show notes. And thank you again, Tanya, for coming on.
What a treat. What
We'll
a
talk
treat.
again soon. Okay.
Thanks, Noah. Bye
Bye
for
for
now.
now.